look out. Here come former SportsCenter anchor Bob Stevens, esteemed basketball coach Rich Basirico, and Hall of Fame sports writer Curry Kirkpatrick. And someone's going under the bus.
Oh, somebody's going under the bus. In fact, there might be a lot of people going under the bus. It seems like one of those weeks where there's not one big super story, but there's a whole lot of stuff going on out there, and we'll start throwing people under the bus. First of all, Jerry Jones or Deion Sanders, which one of them will go under the bus first when they unite as coach and owner?
They're both nuts. They should both go under the bus. I can't see that happening. Deion, I just don't see him being. I don't think, honestly, I don't even think he's a very good coach. And Jerry Jones has ruined that team over and over again. And now they're going to bring him in. Let's be a circus.
What do you think, Curry?
Well, it'll be who's going to have the most press conferences. That's the first thing. I don't know how they're going to deal with that. I've been reading, watching a lot of these guys talking about Deion, can it work? And they all say he's about the only guy, one of the few guys that Jerry might listen to, that Jerry might back down, from, and, be impressed by his knowledge. I don't know, as Rich says, he doesn't think he's much of a coach anyway, but I think, do you have to be a great coach in the NFL? I don't know. There's guys that have been around, like we're going to discuss Mike Tomlin, I guess, later. I mean, he's been around, 15, 18 years. And his big plus is that he's never had a losing record. Right. But again, the guy hasn't won a playoff game in 6 years or something. Yeah. He lost the last 5 games of his season this year. And he seems set in Pittsburgh. I don't think he's going anywhere. I mean, they seem satisfied with mediocrity.
That's the owner, but the fans aren't. The fans want him out big time. They can't get over the fact that they can't get past the first round.
Get him a quarterback. Get him a quarterback. Well, give him, and then put him on the same hot seat that everybody else is. I mean, he hadn't had a quarterback in since
that's true.
Roethlisberger, and Roethlisberger, I would argue, wasn't all that great. He was part of the, he fit into the system.
But you ever watch Tomlin on the sidelines and see there's no emotion?
What does he do? What does he do?
He stares out to space, and it's like I don't ever see him talking to anybody or the players during a timeout. Or I'm going to bring something up later on with college basketball about timeouts and things like that. He's just him and the coach from Tampa Bay. He smiles every once in a while, but I don't see. Oh, it's that Todd Bowles? Is that Tampa Bay?
Bowles,
yeah.
Both of them, they literally stare into space. There's no communication with other coaches, players, whatever. I think it's, you're talking about how important it is to be a coach, good coach in the NFL. You can get by, but you got to have players. That's the bottom line in any level, college, high school, whatever. You have to have players. And the Steelers have enough good players to have a winning record, but they can't go any place in the playoffs.
If you watch the Steelers-Ravens games, I know, we know that the Ravens are a superior team, but Pittsburgh came out so dead in that game. They were lifeless. Right. There was no zest. There was no animation. They looked like dead on arrival. The game was over in the first quarter, and they didn't seem to put up much of a fight. Who's the J.J. Watt, who I think is terrific. He had 0 tackles in that game. 0. I mean, how can J.J. Watt ever go a game without a tackle? I don't get it.
And is that Tomlin's fault?
I don't know. I think
his job is to motivate. I mean, his job, like Curry said, that they had no life. That to me stems as the reflection of the coaching staff. If your players don't come out ready to play and they have no life, this is the playoffs.
Yeah, and they're an NFL team. It's the National Football League. I mean, and it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's the thing. They're, it seems their whole image has gone south to me. And Tomlin has been at the head of it. He can't, you can't absolve the guy as much as everybody, the Rooneys and everybody likes him. You can't absolve him of this stuff.
I
He
totally
he
agree.
certainly needs to take responsibility for some of what's gone on. On the other side, you get like a Mike McCarthy, who do you see him doing anything? I mean, he calls plays, I
Well,
guess, but
well,
Yeah.
Jimmy Johnson made an interesting point on Sunday. This was before McCarthy was fired or parted ways, quote, parted ways. Uh,
yeah, fired. Yeah,
he said, why don't the two teams trade their coaches? Tomlin goes to Dallas because he said, both. This is Jimmy Johnson talking, not me. But he said,
yeah,
both franchises are stale. They're not doing anything. And
yeah,
of course, the Cowboys haven't done anything for years. Trade the coaches, have Tomlin go to Dallas, have Mike McCarthy, who's a Pittsburgh guy, born and
yeah.
raised in Pittsburgh. He should go coach the Steelers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. This was
That's
before McCarthy got fired, of course.
that's not a bad idea, but they do need some new blood in both programs for sure. The
Yeah.
thing about it is what's happening now is all these openings and no one knows who to hire. I mean, who are viable candidates out there? I mean, they throw out these different coordinators that Johnson from Detroit and Glenn from Detroit, also defensive coordinator. But the coordinators doesn't mean you're going to be a good coach, a head coach, I should say. I mean, look at the history of the NFL where that's happened. How many great
Well, but
coordinators have come in?
all the good young bright coaches they talked to, even Sean McVay of the Rams, these guys were once assistants, hot
Right.
assistants, and not how they got their job. Rich, you sound more hoarse than I am. Were you? Did you lose your voice screaming for slinging Sammy Darnold?
No, I didn't lose. I
How
lost my
about
voice because my flu shot, which I'm throwing under the bus, doesn't work. I have the flu.
I did that too. How about slinging Sammy though? Did we predict that?
Right.
We both said
Yes.
after Detroit he's going to come
Mhm.
out again and lay an egg, and this was a bigger lay an egg than he did at Detroit. I mean, he was awful. Good God.
Well, the real Sam Darnold, please stand up.
9 sacks. Well, he can't stand up because he's on the ground. 9 sacks.
He lost a lot of money because in those last two games they were raving about him.
Yeah.
They're going to trade J.J. McCarthy. That we're going to keep him. Darnold's going to be our number one guy. Now who knows? Look, who knows? It's kind of
Well,
sad.
One name I did want to throw out before we get off the coaches, that might be the most intriguing hire, might be the oldest one of the bunch. Pete Carroll still got anything left in the tank? Now there's your animated sideline coach and your supreme motivator and all that kind of stuff.
He apparently is interviewing everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, is he the wild card in all this? That could
I think he is. I
upend
do.
it all. I'd hire him.
Somebody might take a shot at him. I mean, at least he has the experience. He's had success. Yes, he's older, but some of these young pups we don't know what they're going to bring to the table.
And you guys might have hit something right there. He was stale in Seattle. It had run its course. It was done. Correct. He needed a new place to be. And maybe if he gets somebody fired up and gets them going again, a place that needs it. We'll see.
Yep.
Curry?
Well, before we get off the playoffs, a couple of my pet peeves.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the playoffs.
Well, this coach's carousel is a perfect storm for our boy Tom Brady. I mean, Tom Brady, he's the owner of the Oakland Raiders or the Las Vegas Raiders, okay? He's a part owner, but let's call him the owner. He's been broadcasting, televising games all year, getting to know, talking to all the coaches, getting to know the whole league. And he needs a coach. So now he's going to broadcast the Detroit-Washington game. And, of course, as you said, Detroit's got two of the hottest assistants, coordinators that people want, Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. And, what – I mean, if Brady goes on here and starts complimenting Johnson like crazy, doesn't that sway Johnson? Well, maybe I'll go. He's interviewing everywhere. He's interviewing for the Raiders also. I mean, it's such a conflict of interest to me. An owner broadcasting the games.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks bad. It smells worse. It's a bad look for the NFL. They got to have a Brady rule. You can either own a team or you can broadcast the games. You can't do both.
I don't think he's allowed to talk to the guys in that he's not allowed in the production meetings, and he can't do that stuff. So I mean, that's how they're trying to
Really,
police it. I know.
Bob, he's Tom Brady. You know,
He's Tom Brady.
he's going to talk to him in the hallways or something. Come on. I just think it's a bad omen when you're being a broadcaster and an owner. I mean, this could lead to a lot of stuff. I think they need another Brady rule like the last one, like the one
like
where
the tuck rule.
Yeah, like the tuck rule. It's another Brady rule. I don't know.
Well, maybe that's another reason why the Patriots locked up Mike Vrabel really quickly before Brady could get a hold of him, probably.
Yeah. I got another one. Sideline report. I got sideline reporters. Okay, here's a pet peeve. Sideline reporters are there for, to give us some more knowledge about the game and what's going on, right? Because they're on the effing sidelines, okay? So at the end of the half, on the weekend, Tampa Bay is playing. Mike Evans, the great receiver, is having this one-on-one battle with Marshawn Lattimore, the defensive back for Washington, right? Did you see this? The whole last 5 minutes of the game, they're killing each other, going down, and Evans is making these great catches, and they're going down to tie the game at the end of the half. They get another pass interference on Lattimore, and Evans scores a touchdown. So, I mean, and Collinsworth goes on the air, and he said that he heard before the game that the Quinn and the Washington staff was talking about doubling Evans and putting Marshawn Lattimore on the other side of the field. But Lattimore said, this is Collinsworth said, Marshawn told me, no way, I'm taking him. He's my man. I'm going man to man against him. So it's a game within a game, and there's this fascinating stuff at the end. He said, Collinsworth said, I think Lattimore vetoed the coach's decision so he could guard Evans. So it's the whole game.
For years.
The whole game is unfolding this really neat thing at the end of the half. All right, halftime. Here comes Dan Quinn. Here comes Melissa Stark over to interview him. This is what sideline reporters are made for, okay? This is why they exist. She should have asked Quinn, Coach, listen, your boy is getting killed. Marshawn's getting killed by Evans. Are you going to double him the second half? Did he veto what went on? We understand that, there was some controversy. Who's going to guard Evans? It's the perfect question for Quinn. It's the only question. It's the whole game. You ask the guy that. That's what you're there for. Oh, no. Melissa says, Coach, what do you think of your young quarterback? I mean, come on. I'm going nuts. Come on, Melissa. And then Washington wins the game. To compound the problem, Melissa Stark comes up after the game to give out the games balls. She's wearing this blue thing, bright blue thing. It looks like a bathrobe. What are you doing, Melissa Stark? I mean, she looked like she was going to a pool party. It was, come on.
Maybe she was after the game. You never know.
Probably. I don't know. You got to ask you got to pay attention to the game. I mean, it was a fascinating thing that Collinsworth was saying at the end of the half, and we want to know about it. And there's the coach you can ask him.
But Curry, don't you think the coaches hate that?
Of course they hate
halftime at the end of the quarter.
But so what? So what? If they, they're obligated to do it. Apparently, the NFL's told them you got to get, one question or two questions. You can tell
and they've gotten really smart about it. The coaches will give you a little something, but keep giving the same thing to you, so they only have to answer one question, and they're gone.
And then leave.
They give them 1 minute, one question, gone.
And then boom, they're out. Yeah.
Speaking of Melissa Stark,
I just thought that was the perfect storm to ask Quinn about Evans. How's he going to guard Evans?
I'm not sure. I've told this story. That's the one SportsCenter commercial that I might have gotten a little FaceTime on, was the Melissa Stark SportsCenter commercial, where we were supposedly the guy anchors. I'm not sure if I've told this story before. The guy anchors were answering her fan mail. And so we had a stack of 8x10 glossies. And one of the guys, my job was to sign Melissa's name. And Larry Beal, I think, was supposed to kiss the picture so that they're, and So there would be lip prints on the picture, signed,
Yeah, yeah.
and then there was, best wishes to so and so. Then somebody else was stuffing them in the envelope, and that was the whole story. That was it. That was the whole commercial. And 2 weeks after we shot the commercial, Melissa took a job with NBC, and she was gone.
Wow.
So it never made air. That's about as close as I got to a starring role in a SportsCenter commercial. And so I've always kind of felt like you have, Curry, about Melissa Stark. Always been a little
Well,
something.
I mean, I worked with her for a little bit at ESPN when I was there, doing some TV stuff. And I remember I met her in Chapel Hill at a basketball game, and she, this was a long time ago, but she was about the most stunning woman I've ever met. I mean, she was just spectacular. And I've always loved Melissa Stark. That's why I'm screaming at the TV, ask him the question, Melissa.
Hey, who's the best? You got a favorite sideline person? Maybe even historically?
I don't know.
Maybe the best bit I can ever remember. Jim Lampley, who of course is now making his career with boxing, doing a lot of boxing stuff.
Oh, he's retired in Chapel Hill, Bob. He's retired. Chapel Hill, yeah. I know him very well. He's a Carolina guy.
All right. Well, Lampley, and other than that, he was a terrific sideline guy.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I will still never forget him at a Baylor was playing somebody, and he interviewed the Baylor Bear. It was a football game. He was interviewing the Baylor Bear, who only sat on the sidelines and drank soda pop all game. And so he's interviewing the Bear. The game gets out of hand. He finally, Lampley, calls the pizza place that's 2 blocks down from the stadium and orders pizza on the air. He says, I want 2 pepperoni upstairs. And 20 minutes later, Keith Jackson gets his pizza delivered and thanks Lampley on the air. One of the best, that may be the best sideline bit. If those sideline guys would just do that instead of asking dumb questions, maybe we'd be.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
All right.
You
picks for the game. We got
You haven't mentioned Bob, your boy AJ Brown reading his book on the sidelines at the Eagles game.
I love that.
What was that all about? That was great.
Inner Excellence.
Inner Excellence. Yeah, by Jim Murphy. By Jim Murphy, who was a 13-round draft choice of the Chicago Cubs.
There you go.
And apparently this, it's a self-help book, and apparently all these golfers slurp up this book to try to get better, self-help. But there's AJ Brown. Apparently he reads at a lot of games, and that's the first time cameras caught him there.
First time he got caught, yeah.
And he talks about how it's helping him, but he had 1 catch for 10 yards. I think Outer Excellence would be a better. He should go to that book. I mean, the other opinion of what he was doing is he was pissed off that he wasn't getting the ball, so he was just reading to kind of show the coaches he wasn't interested.
On the other hand, you could get caught not getting the ball and making noise about it, like Deontay Johnson, who has been cut by his second playoff team in 3 weeks. The Ravens, picked him up and they cut him, and then the Texans picked him up and now they've cut him. He may get checks or rings from all kinds of teams and not really have done a darn thing for any of them. He goes under the bus.
Yeah, for sure. Wait, Carolina traded for him, right? That's where he went from the Steelers. He went to Carolina. So Carolina,
and then this year he's gone from Carolina to Baltimore to Texas to home.
All about his attitude. It's all about his attitude.
Yeah, who's going to pick him up? Ooh. He may be done. So let's talk about the games. Houston got any chance against Kansas City?
No.
Okay.
I'm a no. I'm a no.
The other Saturday game, the Commanders and Lions in Detroit. That's good. That place is going to be nuts.
It will be nuts. I like the Commanders, but Detroit's too strong. I see Detroit.
9-point favorite.
It's a lot.
You
I'll
giving
take
up any?
I'm obsessed with this guy that quarterbacks the Commanders. He is just
Ooh.
sensational. The last 5 games they've won in the last few seconds or overtime by a total of 15 points. The guy is so calm and so serene in these moments at the end. There was a point on the final drive against the Bucks last weekend where I don't know if you saw this, but they brought in Mariota to
Yes, I did
take
see it.
and they flanked out. I can't even remember his name now.
Jaden
What's
Daniels. Yeah.
Daniel? They flanked him out. Remember? And they ran a. They tried to catch Bucks offside. It didn't work. And the Buccaneer defenders were like jibing at Daniels, like laughing at him, and he was laughing back. I mean, this isn't with like 3 minutes to go in the game. This is like, and Daniels is laughing. It was
How about
great.
this
It was great.
bizarre? How about this bizarre Jaden Daniels stat? He has already played in 3 games where his team did not punt and did not have a turnover.
Wow.
Wow.
Tom
That's
Brady,
impressive.
Joe Montana, Pat Mahomes have all played. Yeah, Joe Montana. Yeah, Mahomes. I got another one here too. Oh, Archie Manning, or not Archie Manning, but Peyton Manning. Those 4 guys played in 2 games total in their careers where they did not punt and did not have a turnover.
And this guy's got 3 already?
3 in the first year.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness. No idea. Yeah.
That's
Pretty
That's
good.
pretty done. Yeah, very good.
He's
Pretty-
really terrific. I give him a chance against Detroit.
You do?
Yeah, I really do. I think he's
Okay.
he's just,
Detroit's still beat up. They're going to start getting guys back now, but yeah, he may have some fun with them. Rams may be the hottest team. Can they beat the Eagles?
I think they can. I do.
I love the Rams. I love Stafford and I love McVay. And I love the way they handled the Vikings. Unbelievable what they did with those terrible fires, and they had to, go take planes into Arizona. It was unbelievable how they performed, I thought.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Baltimore and Buffalo is going to be the best game, probably. Right. It's the closest spread. Baltimore right now, a 1-point favorite in Buffalo.
Rich, you like my Bills?
I'm sorry, Curry. I don't. I'm pulling for the Bills. I am, but I think Baltimore's going to win. But I am pulling for the Bills. But I think that's going to be a great game. I think that's very entertaining.
I think the Bills at home. I give them the edge this time. Of course, they got killed by Baltimore early in the year. They weren't. I don't think they were ready for that game.
Yeah.
Does what does earlier in the year matter anymore? Does it?
I don't think so. But sometimes it's the matchup. Some teams just, sometimes people compare scores. You can't compare. It's about the matchup. It's like the Rams winning on against Minnesota. Didn't they already beat them earlier in the season, right?
Earlier in the year,
so but everybody felt Minnesota was the better team. I think anyway. But they and they have a very good coach themselves. But McVay is terrific in preparing his team. Obviously, he's already won a Super Bowl, but he does a nice job with the talent he has.
Oh, yeah.
And he gets them to play.
Here's what I think Bills Baltimore. There's been so much talk about Henry and who's the quarterback for the Ravens? Jackson and Henry dominate, and they were dominant in the last weekend. And everybody's talking about them, but the Bills have, of course, Josh Allen, and they have their running back who is nobody talks about him, and he's going to see this. Everybody talks about Henry, who is terrific, but Cook, the running back, I think he's going to be really energized by the fact that nobody even talks about him.
Well, I think the difference in the game is I think both teams can score, but I think Buffalo's defense is not as good as we think. I think Baltimore's defense. I don't think Baltimore's defense is great, but I think it's definitely better than Buffalo, and I think it's going to come down to.
It'll be an upset.
Let's bet the over. Yeah, let's bet the over on this one. All right.
Sounds good.
Hey, we got a lot of college football to talk about. We got college basketball to talk about. Maybe we won't talk about Tiger Woods. Let's hope not. We'll do all that when we come back. Under the Bus, brought to you by Hudson's on the Docks. Great seafood restaurant. on Hilton Head Island in South Carolina, hudsonsonthedocks.com. We're back in a minute. Welcome back Under the Bus. Bob Stevens along with Curry Kirkpatrick and Rich Basirico. Notre Dame, Ohio State next Monday for all the marbles. Buckeyes are a 9.5-point favorite.
That's a lot, don't you think? That's a lot of points. I know Ohio State's looked great the last couple of weeks, but we forget that they lost to Michigan at home, and Michigan had a decent season, not a great season. But the Notre Dame has some guys hurt, which might obviously hurt them in a game like that. But I give Notre Dame a chance, but I think Ohio State wins.
Well, Ohio State has been using that Michigan loss to, inform everything that they've done since then. I mean, they've just been on a tear to prove everybody wrong, save their coaches its job, and they're so much more talented than Notre Dame, I think.
Yeah.
If you take them one on, man for man, it's just more talented team. But I think Notre Dame will cover. I hate talking about these bets, but I got to throw somebody on the bus, under the bus.
Do that.
Our weekly, this guy's weekly under Ben Franklin or whatever the Penn State coach's name is.
Oh yeah.
He goes in first of all, pre-game, they get beat by Notre Dame, a great game, right? But and even teams. But Franklin gets up there pregame and he starts talking about he wants conformity in football and he thinks every school should be in a conference. So he's ripping. He's talking, and Freeman, the other Notre Dame coach, is sitting right there. Now, apparently, at another press conference the day before, Freeman and Franklin are there talking, and Franklin compliments Freeman's hairline, and he asks him how old he funnily asks him how old he is. So, to make, he's 38 in his age and apparently this just fumed. Freeman was just fuming inside. He kept it to himself, but apparently he was fuming because he went back to his team and kind of showed this anger to the team, and the team thought they were disrespected. And so, another a great move by Franklin pregame to, jar the other team's coach and their team up.
That kind of the old boxing thing where the two boxers used to get up, and do a pre-fight presser, and somebody would say something to just kind of, throw the needle at them, and the other one would take offense. And now we just got to get them to throw punches when this happens.
I just thought in the game and all around it, the whole thing, Freeman just coached a wonderful game. He's coached a terrific job during these playoffs. And, Notre Dame had two interceptions wiped out by penalties against Penn State. But the third one, they didn't get wiped out by penalty. The third one cost them the game, and apparently the defenders said they were ready for it. They thought they were going to intercept Allard the whole game. And he finally made the drastic mistake and threw it over the middle and cost them the ball and the game.
Hey, here's something I did not know about these two teams that you guys might want to have a spin on. Notre Dame, got Riley Leonard, their quarterback, out of the portal. You know who their second choice was, who they didn't get, that they decided Riley Leonard was better than? Will Howard, the kid who went to Ohio State.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Was at Kansas State. So interesting. I'm not sure who got the best of the deal, but I tell you what, I give Texas all the credit in the world for keeping the wide receiver Smith off the board in the Texas-Ohio State game. Notre Dame's going to have to try to do that.
They just blanketed him, didn't they? But Ohio State has so many other weapons, it didn't even matter. Jeremiah Smith didn't. He caught one ball, I think. Smith.
Can Notre Dame find enough of a passing game? I guess that's probably the key everybody's watching. Their wide receivers. I dare you to name them. Greathouse, I think, is one of them. But
he has a great name. He has a great name.
Great name. Memorable. but are they good enough, compared to what Ohio State can throw out there at receiver to?
Well,
to make a difference?
and if Notre Dame gets behind, they don't really have the offense to really come back because Leonard doesn't throw the ball extremely well. I mean, he's a competitor. I mean, he's a guy you want to go with. You take him in any game that's on the line. He'd be my quarterback because he's such a headsy, smart,
Yeah.
tough guy. But if they do get behind, they're in trouble because he just doesn't throw the ball well enough.
Well, how about the way, we just learned that Quentin Ewers of Texas is going into the NFL, going to leave school. How about the end of that game? I mean, that was spectacular.
Yeah.
We didn't say much about the Texas Ohio State game, but it was terrific game. Ewers, I have mixed feelings about him. I'm not so sure that Steve Sarkisian legacy might include that he was the man who kept Arch Manning on the bench until his junior year. I mean, it might turn out that way.
But they rave about him of his play calling and what he comes up with his different plays. What was his play calling down the end of the game when they had the ball?
On the last four downs,
it was awful. It was terrible. And they've
Especially
been
the
bragging
third
about
down.
how good he
The
is.
third down pass into the flat, no chance whatsoever.
No.
And of course, that set up the fabulous fumble and pickup by the guy that what's his name? Dan. I can't remember his name. Sawyer, who picked off Ewers, and he and Ewers were roommates at Ohio State.
Yeah,
and I thought it was great. Yeah, they showed him after the game. They greet each other, and Ewers looked back at him, and he smiled, and he said, "Screw you," and he was laughing. So it was really nice.
So Ewers comes out in the NFL draft. Carson Beck, who I would kind of put on the same level as Ewers quality-wise, stays in college, transfers to Miami, goes into the portal, goes to Miami for $3 million a year, which is probably everybody seems to think about what he'd have made as a low-round draft choice. He might have actually got a better deal financially to go to Miami and play for another year. How about that?
Well, I don't think either one of those quarterbacks are going to make it in the NFL. I don't think anybody coming out of this draft is going to make it in the NFL.
You keep saying that. You've said that every single week.
I know, because I really truly believe it.
Shedeur, you hate Cam Ward.
I don't
now
want.
You hate Ewers.
I like the kid
Beck.
from Syracuse. The kid from Syracuse. I'll take him.
Oh, that was at Ohio State.
That was at Ohio State. Right.
Yeah.
Correct. I'm not saying they're not going to make the team. I just don't see them being successful quarterbacks in the NFL. And teams picking early are going to reach, including the Giants. They're going to end up reaching for a quarterback because we need a quarterback, but they don't get it. You need a quarterback that can help you win. You just don't need a quarterback. And that's their problem. They're going to reach.
I like both the top two guys this year, Sanders and Ward, and I like Beck. I think Beck's going to be good.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I do.
I don't think so.
I love his arm, and whatever.
Time will tell. Ewing's from Texas coming out as a mistake. Beck staying in, going to Miami is the right move. He should play another year.
Ewers should have gone somewhere else because they're going to. I mean, if Ewers stayed again, you think Arch Manning would have stayed? No way. He's not going to sit on the bench 3 years. No, that's
true.
Not gonna happen.
That's true. Yeah. But do you think Ewing's is good enough to play in the NFL?
No, I don't like him. I don't like him. Yeah, I didn't like him in Texas, but the results, he led them to semifinals.
I think it was brilliant as the deputy in the Dr. Pepper commercials too.
That was his best performance. Yeah,
best performance. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of Bob, you just brought up the money again. Brought up the money. How much money your guys are making? Yeah. And if I could switch to college basketball really quick here, maybe we'll stay there. But
you know what? Let's take the quick break and we'll come back and we'll talk college hoops. And you can bring that up. Curry gets the floor when we come back. Under the Bus, brought to you by Hudson's on the Docks. Welcome back to Under the Bus. Bob Stevens along with Curry Kirkpatrick and Rich Basirico. Okay, Curry, money and college basketball. Go.
Well, I was just going to segue because, you brought up how much Beck's going to be making at Miami. At Texas, Tennessee, Texas, the other day, college basketball is dominated this early season by the SEC. That's the biggest news of all time, how good these teams are, and they beat each other up. We had two just last night, and when we were talking here Wednesday, just last night, Florida was beaten at home, and so was Alabama. So was Alabama, which, by other SEC teams. But anyway, Tennessee went back, and Rick Barnes went back to Texas. Tennessee won the game the other night. But his star shooter, the guy they brought in from North Florida this year, now I can't even remember his name. Shaz Lanier. Barnes set up a play at the beginning of the first half for Lanier to shoot it, and he didn't shoot it, and he pulled him out of the game. And the reporters asked Barnes afterward, "What are you pulling him? Right at the beginning of the first half." And this is the exact quote from Rick Barnes. He said, "Hey, listen, I told a guy, if you're not going to do what you're paid to do, you sit over here because he is getting paid to do that." I mean, this is college basketball. This breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. He tells the reporters, just comes out and says it. That's what he's paid to do. And if he's not going to, jeez, Rick Barnes, come on. Under the bus, Rick. Under the bus, Rick.
All right.
Yeah. Last week, Curry threw everybody under the bus with his stunning admission that Cooper Flagg was the real deal, a guy from Duke of all places. Then he goes out and scores 42 against Notre Dame. Dick Vitale this week, who of course has never been shy about promoting people from Duke, puts Cooper Flagg on the same level with LeBron, Kobe, and Magic at their age. That this guy is as dominant a player as those guys were at a very young age. Precocious, you might want to call him. What do you say, Curry? Is he on that Mount Rushmore?
I don't think so.
It's hard to watch a Duke guy be so good. I'll tell you that. He's I don't know if he's in that realm. I mean, those guys. Of course, Kobe and LeBron never even went to college,
right?
And Magic got his championship. Was that his first year? Magic got the championship. I don't think so. I think it was his sophomore year. He'd been at Michigan State a year and a year. But I'm not sure Duke isn't going to win the whole thing this year. They're all freshmen. Well, not they're all freshmen. They've got a couple of seniors or a couple of veteran guys, and most of the other guys are freshmen. But Flagg is so. Have you seen him play? Right, I saw the 42, and he got 42. That could have been 70. I mean, it's just he could have scored at any point, at any time, doing anything on the court, and he doesn't. He's not selfish at all.
No, not at all.
So that's an interesting point by Dick.
Well, the thing about you just mentioned Duke going win a championship, I agree with you, Curry, that they can. But you know what's going to hurt them? Their competition in the ACC stinks.
That's true.
I think, and in the SEC, these teams are battling every time they play each other. It's a game. Who's going to challenge? I mean, North Carolina is probably the only team that will come into their place where when they're playing in Chapel Hill, will have a chance against them. They got Louisville as the number 2 team in the ACC now. People are talking about, come on, Louisville as the number 2 team in the ACC this year. I mean, they've won 7 in a row and they're pretty good, but they can't challenge Duke. So when you get into the NCAA playoffs, now all of a sudden this level of play really steps up. And Duke hasn't really played that caliber. Maybe early in the season, the tournaments they played in. But that might hurt them down the stretch. I really see that happening. But I do want to throw a couple of coaches under the bus, which I don't really understand. And I know, like in college football, you have coordinators that you turn over. You turn the offensive coordinators calling the plays, the defensive coordinator calling the plays. But the other night, Iowa State, who's very good, Curry, you saw him play in person, and you said they have a team that go to the Final Four. So TJ, the coach, who's got a great reputation of being a terrific coach, and I really think he's very good. Watching the game the other night, during a timeout, on 3 consecutive timeouts, 2 of them, I couldn't even find him in the huddle. The assistant coaches were drawing up the play. Two different assistant coaches.
Yeah,
One was, I think he goes and gets popcorn or something. He wasn't even in the huddle. I mean, he was not in the huddle. One
what
time
game?
he was.
What game was this?
The
The
last game
Texas
they played and they won. They
Texas Tech.
came.
Oh, okay. They came
Yeah,
from behind to beat
yes, yes,
Texas
in
Tech.
overtime.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
overtime.
yeah.
I'm
It
telling you,
looks
he
to
wasn't
me.
even in a huddle.
Well, it looks
He
to
was
me like
like,
he delegates that. He
well,
delegates
I mean,
play
I
calling.
get that. I understand that. But at least be in the huddle, like listen to what the assistant coach is drawing up. If that's their responsibility, fine. I mean, it happens to Florida State, Leonard Hamilton. He never talks during the timeout. He stands there like he's, the manager of the team getting the towels for the players. And then last time I picked up Florida with Todd Golden. Same thing. He's very active on the sidelines. He's yapping all the time.
But
But
not in
during
the
a
huddle.
crucial timeout, he was in the huddle, but he was not diagramming. And
Yeah,
I'm taken
more and
back
more
because
teams,
usually
more and more teams
basketball
are doing this.
coaches. I'm sorry.
I notice this. More and more head coaches are doing this. They're
I know.
delegating the
I
timeout.
know. And it's
Yeah,
hard. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but basketball coaches have egos, and they want to be the man calling the shot with a clipboard out and diagramming. And they're diagramming. Think of this: when they diagram, they're looking down, diagramming to themselves. The players are on the other side. They're seeing it backwards. You got to turn that clipboard around and diagram, but their diagram so they understand it. I don't think the players understand it.
well,
And when you look at the
Eichelberger.
players' eyes, it's going right over their head. They're not hearing a thing. They're not seeing a thing he's diagramming, honestly. And if they don't, to be honest with you, when you diagram a play at the end, if you haven't worked on that play in practice over and over and over again, you can't diagram a play and say go out and run it. It's not going to work. Now maybe you're going, okay, this is the play we're running. Let's just go over your responsibility. But if you're picking up a play at that moment to show them, okay, we're going to run this, and they haven't run it ever in practice, it's doomed. It'll never work.
Well, maybe Eichelberger, who's the guy you're talking about, Eichelberger at Iowa State.
TJ, yeah, TJ,
He's
yeah.
he's pumping his gums all the time. He
Yeah,
wears
yeah.
these tight. He wears the tight,
Shirts.
like short sleeve golf shirts all
Right.
the time,
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
always pumping. So maybe in the timeout he's changing his shirt or something. I don't know. To
Or, or,
keep
or, or pump a little iron. Maybe he's pumping a little iron. I don't know.
Hey, I got a coach I want to throw under the bus.
All
College
right.
basketball coach,
Good.
the women's coach at SMU. Did you see what they did this week?
No.
They're playing Pitt, standard ACC kind of game. SMU and Pitt. We know what kind of rivalry that is in the ACC, right behind Duke, Carolina. SMU's women lead 46-14 in the second quarter. They get shut out in the third quarter. Pitt comes back and not just wins by 13.
No, you got to be kidding me.
46-14.
One way to 72-59 final the other way.
Wow.
So the last 2.5 quarters, they went from 32 down to 13 up, a 45-point swing.
That's crazy.
2.5 quarters. How about that?
That's crazy. She should be
Rich,
thrown
what's
to
the
bus.
biggest lead you ever let get away?
Ooh, I don't want to talk about those things, Bob. Those are
Then how
bad
about
memories.
comeback? How about the other side of it? Ever remember being like way down?
Two games that stand out in my head was Hilton High School in a tournament. We were down 16 going in the fourth quarter, and we came back and beat them.
Whoa.
And then Hilton Head Christian, we were down 15 going in the fourth quarter in a conference tournament back in the days when we came back. But that's you're right. It's not anything. It's not X's and O's, Bob. It's riding a player who gets the hot hand.
But so the game, you remember the games you came from behind to win. You don't remember the games that you lost from way
No, I
ahead.
remember those games.
Put them out of your
Trust me,
mind.
I remember games more that we lost, at the last second shot or whatever it may be. I remember those games more. It's amazing how those games will pop up in your head that you lost on a last second shot or whatever happened. The games you won in thrillers, you don't remember as much. But when Bob asked the question, I do remember those two games. But Curry, I could probably rattle off a lot of games that we had an opportunity to win and we didn't.
Didn't ever blow a 30-point lead though.
I don't think so. But here's
30.
one for you. I got just yesterday. I can't think of his name. As a Pinewood Prep, he owns the most wins in the state of South Carolina. Pat Edson, who I coached again for many, many
Oh, his
years. And
father, his son played, right? Son played
his son
college.
played South Carolina and then played
Yeah.
over in Europe. And now he's coaching his grandson. But he won last night and has the most victories of any high school basketball coach in the state of South Carolina. But we lost, talking about losing a bad game, we lost the game with them at our place, up by one. We had a foul to give. And I think I said this once before, our players, we're going to foul, we're going to foul, we're going to foul. We have a foul to give within 10. And we didn't foul, and the kid hits a 3-pointer and beats us. But then we go to their place and we hold them we're down 12 at half and hold them to 0 points in the third quarter, and we win on a bucket buzzer. We beat the buzzer
Yeah.
with a bucket, and we beat them by the exact same score they beat us at our place.
Oh,
So
wow.
crazy things happen in basketball. Crazy things.
Well,
You
Rich,
good
it's
Should have
at,
been the
funny.
third game.
It's funny you brought up Eichelberger and Iowa State in that game because I was watching the game. I don't know if you stayed and watched the whole till the end,
I did.
but I thought if it's not him, it's somebody that he has calling his offensive plays. They made two great plays, one at the end of regulation
Yeah.
and one at the end of overtime. And
Yes.
they got it to their big guy, Joshua Jefferson.
Yeah.
And he got fouled at the end of regulation, made two
Yes.
free throws to tie.
Tied.
And then in overtime, Rich, they had a great play because he threw it in, the big guy that was under their own basket. And Jefferson is the inbound guy. He threw the ball inbounds, and then somehow he went around and got a spot on the other side of the lane. They threw it right back to him,
Yeah.
and he made a layup to win the game
Yeah.
because they had like 5 seconds or something. It
Yeah.
was a great play.
Well,
And I guess I
I,
don't think
I
Eichelberger must not have called it. His offensive guy must have called it.
maybe he did, but I can guarantee you they've worked on that play over and over and
Yeah,
over again in
it's a great
practice,
play.
without a
Yeah, yeah,
doubt. To execute like that, they have worked on it over
yeah.
time. I mean, maybe TJ, maybe that's why he's such a strong coach, is he turns some responsibility over to coaches, to do that, and maybe during timeouts. But I've seen him talk to his players during timeout. I was just taken back that, like, where is he? And it was two different coaches that, one timeout, one coach
Well,
diagram, the next timeout, another different coach diagram.
yeah.
So, but you would
Well,
think he'd at least be in the huddle.
it's funny. I saw an interview with the Alabama coach, Nate Oates, this week,
Mhm.
and they were asking him about, his whole staff. His whole staff is from the NBA. And they asked him a quick question, and he did 2 minutes on everyone in his staff, what team they were from the NBA, what they did now for him.
Wow.
He has an offensive coordinator. It's just like a football thing. He has an
Yeah.
offensive coordinator. He has a defense coordinator. He has a timeout guy.
Oh, wow.
He has a long play guy. He has a recruiting guy. He went down and named. They're all different. It's the whole staff. He had like 7 guys he's talking
Yeah.
about. And they're all from the NBA. They have all this
Wow.
NBA experience, even as recruiters. So,
Wow.
I mean, that's the way it's going, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
so. Yeah. Well, that's
You
good. I
guys
mean,
gonna
you
watch
have all those guys. It's good to use all those guys. You know who needs somebody like that on his staff is John Calipari. Oh,
Speaking of
like
which,
0 and 4,
I got,
0 and 4 in league play. 0
I
and
got
4
it.
in league play.
I know. I got another thing. He was blown out by Florida the other night, and they showed his rant afterward, his post game rant up at the podium, and he kept saying, "This is so hard." I got his quote right here. He said, "This is so hard. This is really hard. I'm not in these situations usually. I haven't been in these in the past, but I got to be stronger. I got to be the strongest guy in the locker room. I got to be stronger than my players." He kept saying it's really hard. This is hard. He's making what, $18 trillion, and he's telling these reporters how hard it is.
He's been doing it for how many years has he been doing this? It hasn't changed. Nothing's
One of
changed.
one of his players ought to do to him what Rick Barnes did to his players. To say,
Yeah.
"Coach, you're getting paid to do this.
Right.
It
Exactly.
shouldn't be that hard."
Yeah.
Hey,
Exactly.
Curry, I'm coming out of left field with this. Any thoughts about Heinz Klutmeyer,
Well,
photographer at Sports Illustrated, who passed away this week? I would guess you have a story. He's maybe the most famous. Maybe he and Leifer were the most famous photographers at SI.
Well,
What's the story?
except for Walter Yost, who's a good
Walter
friend of mine.
Yost,
But
yeah.
they all have these amazing background stories. Heinz Klutmeyer, of course, his family came from Germany. They settled in Milwaukee, and he started photography as a very young boy. And he used to tell me stories about his dad. His dad always told him, get out of photography. You're not going to make any money doing this. You got to do something else. Got to do something else. So he went to Dartmouth. He actually went to Dartmouth for 4 years. I mean, here's a
Wow.
photographer that went to Ivy
Yeah.
League school.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was a good friend of mine at the magazine. I didn't do a lot of stories with him. I usually would just talk to him in the office because
Okay.
he shot a lot of pro football, which I didn't cover.
Right.
But he also shot the Olympics. He's very famous for his Olympic coverage. And he used to be always trying to come up with gimmicks and tricks and things to put on his camera. He's famous for his underwater. He come out, did a
Right.
lot of underwater shots. He got great shots of swimmers at the Olympics and stuff like this. But he was a great guy to hang around with, a wonderful storyteller. And I haven't seen him in a long time, but
Yeah.
those were the days. He was very, he was a very good friend of mine at the magazine.
He shot maybe the most iconic cover, the magazine, the USA hockey team in
Yes,
1980.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
With
one
nothing
cover,
on the cover, with nothing
yeah,
on the cover.
that didn't have any writing on it except the
No
Sports
bill.
Illustrated across the top.
Yeah, no
no
billing.
headline, no here's what's inside. Curiously, of course, what was inside was the first story on Nolan Richardson at Tulsa was one of the stories on the inside of that issue. But you never knew about it unless you bought the issue because it was all nothing but the USA Olympic team. And that's great stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You told me I wrote that story, right?
I think you did. Yes.
On Nolan Richardson. And the funny thing is, I must have done that story early in the week. It must have been a kind of a feature story because I remember sitting at home watching that hockey game. And,
Right.
of course, everybody remembers where they were.
I was going to say, Rich, you remember where you were?
I do remember watching it for sure and how excited I was. But I do remember this. After they beat Russia, I thought, we still haven't won the gold medal yet.
No.
We still got this is just getting us to the finals. And I was a little worried that we might have a letdown, but obviously we didn't. So that was a great thing to happen.
Yeah, I remember being on a bus between Normal, Illinois, and Peoria that played Illinois State, and they were going to play Bradley when they beat Finland. We were in Normal. I think we watched the game over Russia, delayed broadcast, wasn't live the night we were in Normal, but then on the bus they told us, they beat Finland, so they got the gold medal.
The one that I also remember is the Olympics is when the United States lost to Russia on that long pass when Kevin Joyce and I think it was Collins was there defending, and they had to do like a replay. Remember they did a replay, which was crazy.
Like three times or something.
Right.
Yeah.
I was devastated by that because I enjoyed I was young, obviously, but I love basketball. For us to lose that way was kind of crazy.
It was brutal. All right. Any finals to throw into the bus?
Speaking of losing a couple of ways, here's another pet peeve I have. Twice this week, I watched this. First of all, Connecticut with Alec Caravan at the line to beat Villanova. 2 free throws. They're down 1. He's got 2 free throws to beat Villanova. He missed both. I mean, this is Alex Caravan, twice national championship winner, and to miss those free throws must have been devastating. But anyway, they lose that game. Then a couple nights later is I'm watching who's the kid? Oh, it's the Auburn game, the game that Broom was hurt in. They're playing South Carolina. The South Carolina guy Pringle has the same situation. They're down 1, but he's got 2 free throws to beat Auburn. He missed both.
Yeah.
And Auburn wins the game. But so the announcer or somebody, the coach, somebody later said, both instances, they said those didn't missed free throws, those didn't lose the game. We had a lot of stuff earlier in the game, a lot of plays that we could have made, a lot of missed chances and blah, blah, blah. And those, shot didn't lose the game. I'm going, wait a minute. Yes, they did lose the game. Yes, you lost the game because the guys missed 2 free throws. That's why you lost. All these people say, oh, well, that's not why we lost. We lost earlier. That's just bull.
Well,
so to wrap all of this up in a knot, Rick Barnes is right. They're paying you to make that shot. They're paying you to do that.
Right.
but what's incredible
funny.
is that major
That's funny.
college basketball, that these kids can't make foul shots. I just mind-boggling to me. I mean, I understand that would make everyone, but to see, like last night watching a game, that they talked about this kid shooting 38% from the foul line. 38%. You're in a major college basketball
Who
team, you
was
make
that? Where was that?
38%.
Who was that? Who was that?
That was who was it? Was it Florida,
Did they
Missouri,
keep
maybe?
fouling them at the end or something?
Well, then at the end they took him out. They got him out of the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah,
They got him out of the game. Smart move. Real smart. That's a smart move.
All right. Rich, Curry, and I have been watching basketball games for 50-some years apiece. That's a lot of years.
Yeah.
50. That's 150 years of basketball, and we've all been complaining about bad free throw shooting probably for at least that long. Huh? Curry, you got one last thing?
I got one sense of humor award this week.
Please.
To the websites of San Diego, University of San Diego.
Yes.
They got beat by St. Mary's 103-56, and on their website they put the score: San Diego 56, St. Mary's more than that. Didn't even put the score; just put quote more than that.
That's good. That's solid. I like that. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I have one person under the bus. Mike
Okay.
Woodson, the coach at Indiana. They played Illinois last night, and Illinois scored 60 in the first half, and they were booing the team and him. I thought last year he was going to get fired, but he had a great recruiting year, and they still can't win consistently. So I think he might be done.
He's the NBA guy. He used to play at Indiana, right?
Yeah.
Yes. He coached the Knicks. He actually coached the Knicks.
Oh
He was
yeah,
the head
that's
coach of
right.
the Knicks.
That's right. Yeah.
That's when they were really, really good.
He gone.
He
All
gone.
right.
Yeah.
Thursday night, Oklahoma City and Cleveland play again in the NBA, this time in Oklahoma City. That'll be a good one. We'll wrap it from there. Thanks for joining us. Under the Bus, our longest one yet, brought to you by Hudson's on the Docks. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for putting up with us for almost an hour. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
See you guys.
Under the Bus is a production of the Loco Media Network and is filmed on the Hilton Head Island campus of the University of South Carolina, Beaufort. The executive producer is Justin Jarrett, with assistance from Trey Ramsey, Mahogany Hickman, and Adam Carroll.